On KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media, including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, lip, I might be. Oh. Can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know. Talk to me nicely. I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa. Can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make them eat every word, so don't trip, yeah. Even with all the bridges they burn, I won't switch. Even with all this water we dripping, we won't slip, yeah. Blast Bear Bond in the building, he don't miss. But we call it success when your circle is all rich. If you a big stepper, don't trip over small shit. I call it how I see it, but never gon' call it quits. I won't, yeah, I won't. But what do I owe the niggas? I don't even know. I think that we
KBLA Talk 1580. That's right. You heard Blast 800-920-1580. And talk about whatever you want. Talk to me nicely. We're freestyling on these phones, and I'd love to hear from you. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. Okay, so the case of Nolan Wells continues to expose the underbelly of American racial politics. Why? Because it doesn't have to be like this, but yet it is like this. And these folks, even though they try to be neutral and act like they, just, it's not about race. You black people are playing the race card. Ben Crump is playing the race card. Dominique DiPrima is playing the race card. The reality is all the cards are race cards. Y'all are playing them too. You just, as Sharon Kyle pointed out when she was on last week, since your card is the default, the white card is not considered the race card, but y'all be steady playing it. And I'm calling you out. That's the race card too. The race card, all the decks got a color. Hearts, spades. They all got a color. Diamonds. Ain't none of them clear. Ain't none of them just godly. Yeah, Democrats, Republicans, Bloods, Crips, they all got a color. Stop trying to act like you don't. Stop trying to accuse us of playing the race card. Because if something is black, if we point out, oh, yeah, we're black. Oh, you're playing the race card. Why does everything have to be about race? Everything in America is about race. And so it's like, I remember one time on the front page, many years ago, somebody said to me, I'll agree to being called a conspiracy theorist if you agree to being called a conspiracy coincidentalist. In other words, we're going to pretend that there's no race until we point out racism, inequality, and now we're playing a card. Every card in the deck, every suit got a color. Every chip got a flavor. Quit trying to act like it don't. So, aside from that legal fund that was launched by 3 of Nolan Wells' so-called friends, they launched it not to help the family find a justice or figure out what happened to this young man who went to an island with his 3 white friends and was never seen alive again. Whether it's about race or not, LOL. They've raised $125,000 for themselves. Because now they claim they're being victimized even though they are still alive. They say they've been falsely and wrongly blamed either directly or indirectly for having a hand in Nolan's death. They are planning to go after attorney Ben Crump with defamation suits. And this is what they want to spend their time doing after their friend died. I've lost a lot of friends in my life under mysterious circumstances. Some not mysterious, but a couple of them mysterious. And specifically, I'm talking about Eric Wright of the city of Compton. And one Tupac Shakur. Right? Those are 2 people that I actually counted as friends, and I'm not trying to be flossy. I don't have a million celebrity friends. Those are 2 of them. They died under mysterious circumstances. What do? We try to figure out what happened. How are you? Anyway, so there's that, right? The give, send, go. They're at 125,000. I'm glad that at least, like with some of these cop GoFundMes and give, send, goes where the cop kills a black kid and then they make millions instantly. 125,000 is a lot, but it ain't millions, which shows that the online conversation about Nolan Wells, along with the influence, the counter influence, you've got this Brandon Tatum joker who is, spreading the MAGA line, I'll say. But then you have someone like Nancy Grace, who we're used to only advocating for white folks, coming out advocating on behalf of Nolan Wells, and you've got quite a number of high-profile white influencers who are tracking this Nolan Wells case in a way that is helpful. And those folks, I think, are counterbalancing to some degree, right? To some degree. Now you have a so-called anonymous threat. Anonymous, I should say complaint, not threat. Anonymous threat, complaint against Nolan Wells' mom, Christine Wansley, that she's a nurse. So there was an anonymous complaint to the nursing board of Mississippi saying that she was incompetent or unprofessional, that she had some kind of misconduct. Anonymously. And just coincidentally, this happens right when she's trying to seek justice for her son. Well, now we hear, according to the Mississippi Free Press, that that case has already been closed by the Mississippi Board of Nursing. But she was devastated. She said, "I love my job and I love my patients." And the fact that these folks think that they should be raising money for themselves, giving 1-star ratings to Christine Wells Wansley, Nolan Wells' mom, and putting in anonymous complaints about her. Well, all she's trying to do is get answers about what happened to her son, who was unalived on July 4th. Where's the humanity in these folks? Their attorney, Ben Crump, well, he's one of their attorneys, he said that that was considered a warning shot, that complaint, and that the harassment, the death threats, the attacks on this family, and people saying they're playing the race card when they're just looking for their doggone son is crazy. A park ranger is the one that found Nolan Wells on Horn Island. He was not found floating in the water. Why is there a fake toxicology report floating around that had to be denounced by the family? Why is the autopsy done by the state of Mississippi? Why is that, or the county, I should say, why is that sealed? It can't be given to reporters. It's not being given to the family. Why is that sealed? And why is the case going to a grand jury, which keeps it secret? While the so-called friends spreading their own theories about what happened to Nolan Wells, or their own cover stories, depending on how you look at it, they are getting all kinds of, they're on ABC, they're on, podcasts. And while it's true, Nolan Wells' mother has also been doing interviews looking for answers, and his father too. That's normal. They are the victims. It really does feel like a massive cover-up and a denial of justice. But all of these pieces, along with the fact that now people are being arrested, charged with threatening witnesses in the Nolan Wells investigation, it just shows you, where is the energy? The energy is on protecting the white folks. The energy is on protecting the people that are persons of interest to the public, even if they're not persons of interest to prosecutors. We don't know, because everything is secret. It's happening in the context of a grand jury investigation. 3 people have now been charged with threatening witnesses. And that is where the only legal action that we have publicly seen, other than the convening of a grand jury. We haven't seen, anything about the questioning of these so-called friends. We have not seen any press conferences about the progress in this investigation. We have only seen arrests of people who are supposed to be threatening witnesses. We haven't seen any press conferences about that enhanced tape that seemed to show the friends panicking on the boat, so-called friends, over the death of Nolan. We don't know if that's credible or not, but what are they doing? They're attacking the sound expert who enhanced the tape, not debunking it, nor giving us a press conference about what it shows or does not show. Why is everyone not rushing to help this family who tragically lost their child somehow. And there are some everybody's rushing, and a lot of those everybody's just so happen to be black. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. If you want to weigh in on this or something else, you're invited. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Literally right in front of our doorsteps the last 2 to 3 years, we have been interrupted by this nightmare of a project called Destination Crenshaw. The desire was partnership at the onset, but we've seen broken promise after broken promise. We've seen our parishioners impacted. We've seen our peers and our local neighbors impacted directly by this. We've seen the crippling of the Crenshaw economy as a result of this project starting and then ultimately walking away. And we're not going to just lay down. We're not going to just, amen, pretend like nothing's happening on our doorsteps. And tonight I want to get out of the way because I want to hear from you. I can stand there as a pastor and tell you how many times we've been interrupted from our flow of worship, how it's impacted our ability to provide services to our community, how the blight and how the construction derailment has hindered our ability to amply run our food pantry programs, to offer summer camp programs for our young people, how the construction impacts just our ability to be able to come to church in part. I can go on about how it's interrupted just our day-to-day operations and being able to accommodate the needs of our community.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Yeah, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580 is the number if you want to say something about anything that's on your mind. But I've been talking about Nolan Wells, and one of the reasons I do that is because I think, number one, the family deserves answers. Number two, we're not idiots. We know all of the backstory. When a black young teenager goes missing in Mississippi, we would be idiots to just say, oh, nothing to see here. No, we need to know what happened. That's called logic. And then the way this is unfolding has been very full of contradictions, very suspect. And so I'm trying to help us stay on top of it. And I'm going to keep saying his name because I think one of the things that they're doing by convening a grand jury is trying to make sure that this thing fades out of the national consciousness before any of the truth comes to light, right? So that we've moved on to the next 5, 10, 15, 20 black people murdered in this country. And to be fair, we don't know that Nolan Wells was murdered. Sure, it's possible that he somehow, a young, strapping athlete who was a great swimmer just drowned spontaneously. It's possible. Who knows? Maybe, the Sasquatch came. I mean, we really don't know. But the fact of the matter is, until we get a credible story, black people would be idiots. People who care about justice, which is not just black people, it's a lot of different people, thinking people, would be idiots to just go, oh yeah, probably just a big wave came. And that's pretty much what they were teeing up, the Cajun Navy and others. Oh, well, there's really strong currents in that part. But if you're standing on the island, kicking it, the currents are not going to come all the way up. And if a strong current suddenly came up, why did they only wash away Nolan Wells? Like, there were tons of people partying on that island, many of whom were not strong and professional athletes. Shouldn't there be a bunch of bodies floating around if there was a tsunami? I'm just saying. Until we get credible answers, we're going to keep talking about it. Meanwhile, there's a national prayer rally for Nolan Wells on what would have been his 19th birthday, which is August 19th. Dr. Jamal Bryant, Pastor Jamal Bryant, is leading that prayer. It's in Biloxi, Mississippi. And they are going to celebrate his birthday by calling for prayer. People are going to go to the Greater St. John AME Church in Biloxi. That's starting at 7 o'clock. And they're going to have speakers, so it will be a prayer/rally type thing. But I think that wherever we are, we can. You don't have to be able to go to Biloxi. We could say a prayer. My prayer is comfort, grace for that family, and the revelation of the truth in this case. He would be turning 19 on the 19th. And so they're calling for National Day of Prayer. And hopefully we will all join in that. The fact that this young mama has to deal with hate mail, online harassment, and I'm sure in-person harassment too in Mississippi. It shows you that every card is the race card. They're all race cards. Are you going to do it consciously, or are you going to be unconscious and act like you're not doing a thing? Boy, TMZ has turned into almost like the New York Post. TMZ was started as like a gossip rag type thing, and I think they started to get respect because they would break stories, even though they might be Hollywood kind of stories. They might be a little shady, sleazy. Didn't they break some stories around Michael Jackson? I feel like they broke some stories that started to make us look at them more as a journalistic paper and not just a celebrity rag. And lately I've noticed they've gone really far right wing. We saw that in LA with the mayor's race in the primary, where they were caping for Spencer Pratt like they were sleeping with his mama. I mean, they were awesome, all the way up in the Spencer Pratt apparatus. So that's when I started to really notice. I read a lot of different papers. I try to have a broad perspective. I am progressive, but I'm also fair. I'm not craven. I'm fair. I don't fight facts. I put them in context. So I track these things. I notice when the LA Times, we all notice when the LA Times, because they took a sharp right turn. They've always been interesting because they've got a lot of great journalists who do incredible investigative work and some amazing articles. It's not a rag. It's an actual good paper, but then they're owned by a South African billionaire. And when he decided they would no longer endorse candidates, conveniently just in time to not endorse the black woman running for president, that was the beginning, or the obvious beginning, of a sharp right turn. And so TMZ, maybe they've secretly always been that way, but I've never seen it. Now it's blatant. Now they're Team Spencer Pratt. Now they're talking smack about Nolan Wells, low-key. They don't do it blatantly. However, here you go. This line I'm going to read from TMZ from their latest report on Nolan Wells. that was published yesterday. Nolan Wells' friends have had enough of being accused online over his death, and they're bringing in one of President Trump's heavy hitters to fight back. That sentence alone says a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, so apparently Tyler Cox is now the lawyer for 3 of the so-called friends, supposed friends, with friends like these friends. He's now representing 3 of them. And Edward Andrew Palstic is also joining them. Well, he is the one that was Trump's lawyer when he took on CBS, Paramount, the New York Times, and the BBC, and got check, 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 and another check. So this is one of those put the squeeze on him type attorneys. And of course, they're quoting Officer Tatum, the not journalist. It was funny though, is this TMZ article. They have a picture of his so-called friends holding up fish, and then they have a picture of Nolan Wells where he looks sort of menacing. They choose their pictures very carefully. They don't use one of the many smiling, handsome, playing football, playing with his brothers and sisters. They don't pick that picture. Then further down, they have the picture of Nolan Wells on the boat with the 3 so-called friends where they've started blurring out their faces. Even though they've been widely reported to the whole world, now they've started blurring out their faces. And we know that this directive is coming from the lawyers. The lawyers are now raising money for the white friends. They're now blurring the faces of the white friends. And with the father of one of them, Dr. Benjamin Hudson, swerving. First, he offered $50,000 for information leading to the solving of this case. You know, joining Tyler Perry and others who have kicked in money. And then he swerved right back and set up this give, send, go to try to get money on their behalf. They're sending off cease and desist letters. It's turned into a whole, and I'm laughing because to me it's so ridiculous. In all of this conversation over here with the so-called friend group, the white friend group, the not black friend group, there's very little about finding out what happened to Nolan Wells. 800-920-1580. We've got news, traffic, and sports, then more, only right here.
Where the overlooked become unmissable. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. An FBI report says active shooter accidents are increasing in the U.S. The FBI says that in 2025 there were 34 total active shooter incidents. The FBI says in 2025 there were 34 total active shooter incidents. Authorities say 2 suspects have been arrested in Peru in connection with the death of an American Airlines flight attendant based in Dallas, Texas. Investigators say Eric Molina disappeared during a layover in Colombia in March, and his body was found several days later. Authorities say the suspects are members of a Colombian gang that targets foreign visitors. A Tennessee death row inmate wants a federal court to allow a private religious confession before his scheduled execution. John Michael Bain and his spiritual advisor filed a lawsuit arguing state prison policies violate their religious rights. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers off day today comes at a good time. They need one. The Dodgers have lost 6 straight games after losing to the Cubs 7-6 Wednesday night in Chicago. The Cubs swept the 3-game series. The Dodgers are now 4-8 since their hard-headed trip to the White House on July 23rd to celebrate last year's World Series championship with Trump. A lot of folks, most of them Dodgers fans, told them not to go. Now look what's happening. 2 weeks ago, the Dodgers had the best record in Major League Baseball. Today, that distinction belongs to the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee is 2.5 games up on the Dodgers. The best record at the end of the regular season has some value. It gives a team home field advantage throughout the playoffs and World Series. We're 2 months away from the end of the regular season, but the Dodgers need to get things in order. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Class is in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
As we go a little something like this.
Talkers Magazine has spoken. Out of every talk radio host in America, Tavis Smiley ranks number 14 on the Heavy 100 list. One of the top 15 most important voices in the nation, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically powerful. Tune in weekdays on the 9s, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. This is your station. This is your voice.
Let's get it on! In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil, one simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth.
Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome. We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
We do not, and we invite you in because you got to be able to express yourself somewhere, right? And this is that spot at 800-920-1580 or online at KBLA 1580 on every platform. You can contact me at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. I'm everywhere. I even have a YouTube channel. Please like, copy, subscribe, talk smack. It's all good. I love to interact with you on and off the air. Okay, so New Mexico, the state, is suing the Justice Department about the Epstein files. They say that Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general who's trying to get the job full time, has been stonewalling the state's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Their attorney general, Raul Torres, filed this suit. And he says that he is trying to do his own investigation. And that because Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is withholding information, unredacted materials that they need for their probe, that is stopping them. It is obstructing them from moving forward with their own investigation. Excuse me. Thank you, Miles. So apparently Epstein had a ranch in New Mexico, and he was doing things kind of like what he was doing on that island. And they're trying to figure out everything that happened. This is a ranch where he wanted to seed the human race with his DNA, supposedly, by impregnating a bunch of women. Sounds very Elon Muskish, allegedly. And there are rumors that Epstein buried women on that site, at least 2 different women. So it makes sense they would want to investigate. But they're saying the feds are stopping them. And now James Comer, who's a Republican, he's a congressman from Kentucky, is saying, why is the federal government asking Epstein to stop? I mean, asking the Attorney General Torres in the state of New Mexico to stop. So now they're suing the Department of Justice. The timing couldn't be worse if your name is Todd Blanche, because he's 1 vote away. He needs to convince 1 more person to vote for him, and then he can be the Attorney General. Why do we care about this? Why am I talking about this? Well, for one thing, the Attorney General leads the Justice Department. Trump has already vowed to go after activists. He has vowed to go after the people he has deemed terrorists. Among those people are it's the black identity extremists, that made-up category that then Congresswoman Karen Bass pushed back against hard with the Biden administration. This is not a thing. You made it up. But that's what he's doing. He's already saying he's going after Black Lives Matter. He's already saying he's going after activists. And this Todd Blanche guy is the one who's going to execute that plan. Now, you're talking about a guy who even said in front of the Senate that yes, it was a slip-up, but it was one of those Freudian slip-ups that tell you what you really think. He said he was the president's personal lawyer, because he was for many years. And now the president is largely using the Department of Justice as his own personal law firm. DOJ is supposed to be main justice. It's supposed to be the people's lawyers, not the lawyers for the president, the lawyers for we, the people. And the fact that this guy, who has aggressively and blatantly covered up while bungling, continuing the bungling that Pam Bondi did, right, of the Epstein case, that he is now in position to be the Attorney General, is a whole problem, because he will have authority over criminal investigations, over prosecutions, not just of the Dr. Fauci's of the world, right? And that's the shiny object for his base. We know you hate Fauci. Right now they're talking about holding him in contempt of Congress for pleading the Fifth, which he did. And some people think that's weird because Biden already gave him what he called a preemptive pardon, covering his actions from 2019 through 2025. But I suppose that's why he doesn't want to speak, because anything after 2025 is not covered by that Biden pardon, which means they could trip him up and take him down on anything. You see how the Trump administration is making up charges, mortgage fraud, and all kinds of ridiculous, unsupported, look at the reflecting pond. They tried to put an Olympian in jail, prison, for shoddy contractor's work. So, of course, it's logical that Fauci's trying to not talk, But it makes him the perfect foil right now to distract us. So the guy who covered up the Epstein files will now be, and continues to cover them up, by the way, will now be in charge of going after Dr. Fauci. Or, who knows, the Federal Reserve Chairman. Who knows? Adam Schiff. They've threatened him, right? Senator Schiff. Senator Mark Kelly. They've threatened him, right? For telling the troops that they have a right to not follow illegal orders. Wow. Now that's controversial. Why? Because he plans to give illegal orders. Or Letitia James, for that matter. Or anyone else that the president has on his very long enemies list. This guy is one vote away from being confirmed as Attorney General of the United States. He will be the one that gets to decide who they're going after. They've hinted about going after Barack Obama. It's everyone that the president has a grievance with, and all the folks that are on that list of people that they're now trying to designate as terrorists simply for exercising our rights. Okay? So I'm tracking this because you and I, those of us who care about what happens in our country, the real patriots, I consider myself a real patriot. The real patriots are the ones that love our country enough to fix it. You know, we're not running to, I was reading an article last night about how all these billionaires are running to New Zealand. Peter Thiel is one of them. There's a bunch of others. And I think it was something like 300 billionaires, or maybe millionaires and billionaires. I don't think they were all billionaires. I'm remembering the article off the top of my head, who now have gotten this golden visa. It's a golden, where if you can invest $10 million in New Zealand, and then there's a higher tier one that's $50 million, then you can get citizenship or get a residency there. And a bunch of them are doing it. And it's so funny because they don't want to pay taxes here. They don't want to invest in the United States. They're dodging the billionaires' tax in California, but they're happy to give $50 million to New Zealand. And they're the patriots? I don't think so. Progressives need to take back the patriot title. We are the patriots. Those of us who are team stay and fight. We're not just going to let our country go down in flames. We want everybody to have medical care because we can afford it if we stop buying bombs for others to drop on others. If we stop investing $1 trillion in weapons of war. It's so wild. I went to Costa Rica for vacation. They're one of 23 countries in the world that do not have a military. Not at all. They do not have a military. They don't have one soldier. And it's not because they're too poor or too dumb. It's actually just the opposite. They say we would rather spend our money on healthcare, education, and infrastructure. You know what they have? Healthcare, education, infrastructure. The freeways and highways, real smooth. It's not a rich country. But imagine if you didn't spend any money on the military. If we didn't spend any money for next fiscal year, we would have $1 trillion. I think it's 1.1 or 1.2 by now that the resident wants to spend on the military. $1 trillion. You know what we could do with that? We could get a good start on reparations. That would stimulate the economy. You know, we could end homelessness, at least for the short term, with $1 trillion. Come on now. And these folks are dodging taxes for wars they start, for wars they profit from, because they get the oil from there. They get the minerals from the minerals from there. They sell the bombs and profit off the war on both ends, right? And yet they don't want to pay taxes in this country. They want the middle class and the working class to pay taxes, but they don't want to pay taxes. And yet you're happy to give $50 million so you could go live in New Zealand while you pretend to live in the U.S.? Because New Zealand has, you know what New Zealand has? really strict environmental laws. So you'll be able to breathe the air and drink the water over there. But y'all want to put data centers everywhere here. So is that the plan? All y'all live in New Zealand? Put a wall around it? Guess what? You can't put a wall around the air. Can't put a wall around the ozone. I guess that's why Elon wants to go to Mars. But if his Mars habitation plan, if his breathable environment on Mars works as well as his self-driving cars, well, y'all might be in for a very unhappy surprise when you try to move there. You know, what did he say? We'd have completely self-driving cars by 2014. And yeah, it's true. There are Waymos, but you notice they're not Teslas. And also we find out now that there are people in the Philippines remote controlling those Waymos. So, no. I'm Team Earth, and I'm a patriot. I love my country. I mean, after all, our ancestors bled, died, picked cotton in the hot sun, built white houses, and helped build railroads and highways and freeways and infrastructure. We have made the ultimate investment in America. So, we are the patriots, and this patriot refuses to be designated by criminals and lawless members of this craven oligarchical administration of being unpatriotic. We're not the terrorists. We're not the ones dropping bombs on babies. We're not the ones authorizing law enforcement to shoot babies. That's not us. We're the patriots. We're the ones standing here trying to make our country livable for future generations and our own, trying to fight back on the climate emergency, trying to ensure and secure our vote. And I agree with the vice president. We should get rid of the Electoral College. We need to be bold about the things. And yeah, I get that those aren't working class voter issues, maybe. But if we talked about them more in plain English instead of trying to make it just the purview of lawyers, people would care. And I do think that people care very much about these Republicans corruptly lining their pockets, gold-plating statues in the nation's capital while cutting prescription drug supplements for those in need. I do think every voter that's not a billionaire cares about that. I'm Dominique DiPrima. We're keeping it moving on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Been dealing with the lies of Crenshaw Destination. I live on this street. I remember the first day I came and there was no parking. And they said it'd be 6 months just to fix the wall. They started putting the big boulders down. And my life has changed ever since then. My kids haven't had graduation parties. They haven't had birthdays. My car's been in the shop multiple times. All my tires have been replaced multiple times, each one. I spent $1,000 on my front lawn because it's 6 months. Keep replacing sprinkler. Now it's just dirt. You know, it's frustrating because I'm not a politician, but I know politics. You know, and I know the Smiley said the councilman, but I want to go above that. Karen, you want my vote? Make things happen. Talk is cheap. We can play these games. Period. Because you can't fix it, somebody will.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, I'm going to get off my... No, I won't. I said I was going to get off my soapbox, but that's kind of my job to be on this soapbox now that I think about it. But look, I was talking specifically about Todd Blanche, and he probably is going to be confirmed because Republicans are corrupt, and if they would confirm Pete Hegseth, I think they would confirm, Donald Duck they're pretty much anyone that Trump puts before them. But I just want to say that it's not just about him going after Letitia James and being lawless. And by being lawless, I mean ignoring the orders of judges, which is what the Justice Department has been doing. Think about it. They've been deporting people after judges say you can't deport that person, sending them to prisons in El Salvador where we have no human rights monitoring at all, sending them to prisons in countries that they have no connections to, even though the judges say they can't. So that's what I mean by lawless. It's not just an adjective that I'm throwing around. There's also the elections, right? Todd Blanche has said during his hearings to become Attorney General that he will deploy ICE to the polls. He's claiming his compromise is he won't have them arresting people at the polls. That's the compromise. But you're going to have ICE at the polls. That is what we're talking about. Authoritarian governance. That's what we're talking about. And understand that he's already showed who he is. And now this guy, for him to be the Attorney General during the midterms, is very problematic. He's the one that's been the architect, or at least the overseer, of these seizures of election records, intimidation efforts against those elected officials, interfering with state elections. That's been Todd Blanche. And he's doing all this based on the big lie, right? Oh, the election was stolen. The 2020 election was stolen. Seizing ballots, seizing pictures of ballots, tabulator tapes, taking voting machines, voter rolls and records from 2020. That's Todd Blanche. That's the guy who wants this job permanently. And so, rather than doing what the Department of Justice is supposed to do, which is protect your right to vote freely and fairly in this country, he's doing just the opposite. And this guy, as of now, despite being sued by the state of New Mexico for covering up the Epstein files, he is one vote away from becoming the Attorney General of the United States of America. That's where we are. This is who we are. I get it. But we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep pushing back because although I guess Ed and I were talking about the momentum that the socialist and progressive wing of the Democratic Party has at this point and how it's freaking out the corporate Dems. And some are embracing it. Some, like Kamala Harris, like Gretchen Whitmer, they are at least smart enough and probably young enough to say, look, this is where the party's at. The party people are over here. The stick-in-the-mud establishments are over there. And even the Democratic Party's own reports show that one of the main reasons that Kamala Harris did not win, aside from the fact that Elon probably allegedly cheated, is that Gaza, her position on Gaza, and her failure to distance herself from the Biden administration. Now the corporate Dems are starting to take note because the polling is showing the American people have had it up to here with Israel controlling American politics, with us sending all that money over there to Netanyahu. It's the polling. People are fed up with it. So now the mainstream Dems are at least willing to admit it. They're starting to move away from it. The idea of AIPAC, the Israeli Political Action Committee, or Israeli American, having this much impact on who gets elected and who doesn't, has become an issue in the mainstream of America and on social media. But still, they're resistant. They're resistant to change. They're resistant to the energy in their own party. But those wins are still stacking up. So I don't mean to say, we should be so discouraged. What's the use? Let's give up. Let's, move. Join Peter Thiel in New Zealand, although I understand New Zealand is quite beautiful. I have a friend that lives there. I'm not saying that. I'm team stay and fight. I do still believe when we fight, we win. We just got to be pivoting. We got to be like ninja warriors, wah, 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 on all sides. And that means paying attention to what is going on. Paying attention to who they're pushing through. And paying attention to who's the scapegoat du jour, which is Fauci, right? Now Twitter's all abuzz about pure bloods and who took the jab. And I think Paul Lee was right yesterday when he said, let us not forget how many people in our community, black people, whether you're in South Central or South Chicago, how many of our people were dying. Particularly the older Americans. People lost grandparents and parents in high numbers. Let us not forget the people from the west side lining up at Kedron to get those shots because they wanted to make sure they did not die. It's so easy in hindsight to say, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't take the shot. That's up to you. My point is, Fauci is now their clownish scapegoat, so you can forget that they are still blocking the Epstein files. What? Still. All right, we're talking black business. It's Black Business Month, y'all. And Tech Lamert is in the house. Paris McCoy is joining me next. And you are invited in. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. An FBI report says active shooter accidents are increasing in the U.S. The FBI says that in 2025 there were 34 total active shooter incidents. The FBI says in 2025 there were 34 total active shooter incidents. Authorities say 2 suspects have been arrested in Peru in connection with the death of an American Airlines flight attendant based in Dallas, Texas. Investigators say Eric Molina disappeared during a layover in Colombia in March, and his body was found several days later. Authorities say the suspects are members of a Colombian gang that targets foreign visitors. A Tennessee death row inmate wants a federal court to allow a private religious confession before his scheduled execution. John Michael Bain and his spiritual advisor filed a lawsuit arguing state prison policies violate their religious rights. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers off day today comes at a good time. They need one. The Dodgers have lost 6 straight games after losing to the Cubs 7-6 Wednesday night in Chicago. The Cubs swept the 3-game series. The Dodgers are now 4-8 since their hard-headed trip to the White House on July 23rd to celebrate last year's World Series championship with Trump. A lot of folks, most of them Dodgers fans, told them not to go. Now look what's happening. 2 weeks ago, the Dodgers had the best record in Major League Baseball. Today, that distinction belongs to the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee is 2.5 games up on the Dodgers. The best record at the end of the regular season has some value. It gives a team home field advantage throughout the playoffs and World Series. We're 2 months away from the end of the regular season, but the Dodgers need to get things in order. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer